I've been trying to break the habit of spending too much time at the start of a video talking about myself, because ultimately a good video should meet the audience where they're at, not expect them to come to me. But in this case, I think a small anecdote helps set the mood. Plus you can always skip a little bit forward. Back in 2023, I covered the Sonic Amateur Games Expo and highlighted 5 standout projects. They were made by, as the name Sage suggests, hobbyists. Not yet industry professionals, but nearly all still demonstrated a strong grasp of development and design, often drawing inspiration directly from classics like Sonic the Hedgehog. I had planned to cover the event again this year, but hit an immediate apple-shaped roadblock. After all, I can't expect indie amateurs to support Max when even big studios often don't. But while glancing over 2025's lineup, I stumbled across a title I could actually run on Steam. Not a demo, but a full release. One that, at the time of writing, only has 16 reviews. And I'd like to see that number climb, because saying I was pleasantly surprised by this game might be underselling it. Operius DX might just be my dark horse pick for 2025's Game of the Year. It's a bold statement, especially in a year dominated by games like Expedition 33, Silksong, and Nobby's Number Factory, but I'm being completely serious. In terms of the time I've sunk into it and the sheer joy it's given me, it surpassed even the likes of Mario Kart World. Beyond the fun factor, I'm astonished how polished and gripping it is. This is exactly what I crave in video games. Sharp, arcade-like experiences where the mechanics are simple, the visuals are stark, the soundtrack pulsates with techno, and the big motivation is mastery. It helps that Operius DX feels in concert with one of my favourite games ever made, Geometry Wars. But where that is a classic top-down twin-stick shooter, this is something a lot more breathtaking. A constant drive down undulating polygonal tubes that bend and warp with each round, populated with hurdle-like enemies, but where you can run and shoot across any surface in a midst to both avoid traps and chase down power-ups by blasting through gates. If you ever wondered what the half-pipe sections of Sonic 2's bonus stages would be like mixed with Tempest 2000, this succeeds. It has that awesome flow of games where the more powerful you grow, the harder the game gets. For your extra firepower, you literally become faster, meaning each successive gate becomes harder to hit, and you need to clear 5 of them successively to move into the next zone. Hit a pothole and you're asked to type in your initials for a high score and try again. It sounds simple, and it absolutely is, and that's what makes it brilliant. A few seconds to learn the controls, a few minutes to grasp enemy patterns, and the rest of the game is pure mastery, as the challenge escalates and the pressure keeps building. Operius DX then feels almost like an game, the kind of pure arcade experience Atari or Activision might have built in the 70s with vector graphics, only here sharpened by modern frame rates and explosive effects. At the same time, it channels the energy of 2000s arcade revivals like Rez or Space Invaders Extreme, where gameplay, visuals, and music fuse into hypnotic, synesthetic spectacle. And yet nothing else really feels quite like it. Operius DX borrows from so many touch points but still comes out completely singular. In a strange way, it's the exact game I've always wanted to exist, and certainly one I have tried to make myself if I ever learn how to develop games. And that's why I opened this video with all that build-up, because Operius DX is my game of the year because it is so singularly on my wavelength, and came about not from a seasoned developer, but the Sonic Amateur Games Expo. And part of why I love it is that backstory. Despite only 16 reviews on Steam, it comes from the same kind of underdog pedigree as the small teams behind Expedition 33 or even Silksong, just with far less recognition. A quick search revealed that DX marks it as an expanded version of a web game, which is still up to play for free. And that search hit me with a wave of nostalgia. One of the top results carried the suffix unblocked, which instantly transported me back to secondary school, sneaking around web filters to play Armour Games or Newgrounds classics. Sure enough, Operius first appeared on GX Games, the platform tied to Opera GX, the self-proclaimed browser for gamers. You know, the one you've probably seen half the creators on YouTube advertise. Turns out Opera actually commissioned Operius as a browser showcase, after the developer took a shot in the dark and pitched a Game Maker project as a potential tie-in. Digging deeper into their work gave me even more appreciation. They've contributed to the PC source port of Super Mario 64 and kept busy with a stream of clever little projects, like a mashup of Tetris and Lumines for a block action puzzle jam earlier this year. Definitely a developer to keep tabs on then, especially as their next project looks to be delving into the Metroidvania. And it all makes sense. I love Operius DX because it feels like one of those great Flash era marvels. Games like 3D Missile Maze that felt like straight up witchcraft running on software designed for glorified PowerPoints. Those projects had the same energy as early Sega arcade experiments, pushing hardware past its limits and seemingly pulling off the impossible. Here, Opera GX and HTML5 are more capable platforms, and Imperius DX itself was built in modern Game Maker, but it still carries that ambitious arcade-first spirit, refined and sharpened into something genuinely special. I can't claim that Imperius DX is on par with a sweeping JRPG love letter that recalls the PS2 era, nor the sharper Souls-inspired Metroidvania that pushes its genre to new heights. What I can say is that it's something rarer, a one-of-a-kind, vector-soaked, high-score chasing action game built on the cutting edge of old-school design philosophy, the kind where limitations drove creativity. Vector graphics because polygons weren't there yet, short replayable bursts designed to squeeze out quarters. Imperius DX doesn't replicate those restrictions wholesale, but it uses them as texture, transforming flaws into something more deliberate and fulfilling. If any of those points of inspiration I mentioned are your personal favourites, any of the footage shown look really exciting, or if you just want something short, sharp, and endlessly replayable, perfect for a Discord stream or a break between bigger projects, then Imperius DX gets my full-bodied recommendation. Plenty of smaller titles have stood out this year, and yes, there's even a certain game about mazes and mice vying against Imperius DX for my personal game of the year, but both I'd say cut directly to what I love most about games. Sure, I adore sprawling adventures, Metroidvanias, even big, bombastic guerrilla voxel punches, but it's smaller experiences like this that I crave, and they sharpen my appreciation for the blockbusters. They're the bar raisers, the games that quietly challenge everything else to do better, and coming from a developer who's grown from hobbyist tinkering to something this sharp and polished, Imperius DX feels like the purest reminder of why we do this, why we make games, play them, and talk about them with love on YouTube. So if you care about games at all, do yourself a favour and play Imperius DX. Plus it's only $5, so, well, what are you waiting for?